mass consumption makes you the most powerful giant in the land. And you have the best tools in the world to work with. On the job, that is. These tools make you the world's most productive worker. And the money you earn gives you the purchasing power that makes you a real giant.
What do you know? So I'm a giant.
Uh-oh. Looks like you'll have to apply a little of that important purchasing power. But when Ed goes to buy the brush he needs, just give him a chance, and like most of us, he'll buy a lot of other things which couldn't be called exactly essential. So the loose money in Ed's pocket usually doesn't last for long. Then how can Ed Smith, consumer, maintain a savings account and still make all the big purchases that support the nation's industry? How can he plan on sending a boy through college and still buy these major appliances? And minor ones as well.
Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. It's Friday, baby. We made it. Man, this has been a busy week for us. How about you? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. See that number at the bottom of the screen? You can text us anytime, night or day. When I say us, I really mean us. Stephanie Peterson joining us live for Freedom Family
Hello.
Friday. God.
I do text back on that number, and usually I write my name next to it so people don't get confused.
You look so stinking beautiful today, Stephanie.
Yeah, I straightened my hair and put on makeup. Something I don't do every day now that I have a baby.
I know. Grizz Cheese says, nice shirt. Well, thank you, sir.
You know what's funny? You know how I found that shirt?
How did
So
you find
your
this shirt?
clothes used to be in the dresser that Hazel's clothes are now in. And so the other day I was trying to close her dresser drawer and it wasn't closing. And I'm like, what's going on? I look back there and there's a pineapple shirt hanging out right there in the back of the dresser.
Nice.
So it was happenstance.
You just happened to have it for the Good Morning Pineapple show.
That's right. I like your upside down pineapple on the shirt there.
I'm not sure you do. Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott
You're probably right.
Yes. Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, George Soros' protege, takes a stab at the beating heart of the American economy. Cheap goods. That's the problem, is that things are just too affordable here in the United States. Centrist Democrats, in other news, gathered to plot against progressives. Hamilton is off at the Kennedy Center, citing Trump's takeover. Why the arts need a hierarchy, and Happy Gilmore 2 release date set. And Justin Peterson will be with us today.
Happy Gilmore 2.
Yes.
You love Happy Gilmore 1.
Yes. Happy Gilmore 1 has been always been one of my favorite comedy movies. And I'm honestly, I'll be serious, I'm terrified at the idea of Happy Gilmore 2. Just because the magic of the first one, I don't know if you can make a comedy sequel to something like that. I'm trying to think of comedy sequels that were ever better than the original comedy sequel. The first one is such a big hit that the second one is actually a great film.
Right, I'm trying to think of that as well.
Well, there was
Wayne's World. Wayne's World was still pretty good.
Wayne's World was amazing, but Wayne's World 2 was not as good as Wayne's World 1. I don't think you even saw Wayne's World 2
Oh,
yet.
yeah, I don't think you wanted to show it to me.
Exactly. So that's why, right? Because I don't know that there is a better comedy sequel that was a sequel that's better than the original.
Right.
There are some trilogies where it's like dramas or like science fiction things where you have like later installments that are better than the first one, but I can't think of any comedies. Maybe you can. Let us know. Drop a comment. Looks like Cecilia gets to hang out with us this morning.
Hi, we get to see you in person in a few months.
I know. Good morning, Pineapple.
Adam Sandler, though. Are we going to talk about him later?
We will later, yeah.
Okay, I'll save my thoughts about him.
Let's hit the big news and get it out of the way. We'll knock it out here. The top 5 things that you should know in the news today. Trump delays tariffs on Mexico and Canada. President Trump signed executive orders on March 6th, yesterday, postponing some of the steep tariffs on Mexico and Canada. It's kind of like our head spinning around. You know, the tariffs are on, the tariffs are off. So now we're just all left sort of wondering, what we can do. And the bad part of this is that other countries are already starting to reroute their trade around the United States. One of the downsides of tariffs that they don't talk about, not only do taxes go up and with prices going up,
Yeah.
but also you have to deal with the fact that the people that you're trading with are all of a sudden going to say, hey, you're not a reliable trading partner. And then they don't buy our goods. And then they go seek supply lines somebody else. And when you create new supply lines, those are very difficult to have changed. You can't just turn them on or turn them off.
Oh, my goodness.
The second thing, the EU, the European Union, now is pushing for a defense surge, or Germany looking to rearm as the United States is cutting Ukraine aid. I say good. It's none of our damn business to be over there anyway, and they should be taking care of their own shit, and we should be looking more at an America First policy when it comes to foreign policy.
When you said rearm, I'm like, oh no, the Holocaust is coming back. That makes me nervous. I don't want them to get too powerful now.
Yeah, if you're reading X these days, you'd think that that full-blown Weimar Republic we're in the final days.
Yes.
Number 3, Hamas-U.S. talks spark Gaza hostage hope. The U.S. held direct talks with Hamas on March 5th, the first ever, aiming to free American Israeli hostages that were taken on October 7th of 2023. 7 Americans remain among 101 hostages. A February 22nd swap freed 2 Israelis via the Red Cross. A Hamas official told NPR the talks came after a desperate mother's plea went viral on X, showing her son's empty bedroom. Pressure even militants couldn't ignore. Interesting.
I can't get it out of my head what your dad showed us. He showed us this video the other day of these redheaded children that were killed in Israel, and it is so haunting because Hazel looks just like the redheaded child that died.
It's a tragedy. Yeah. Number 4 for your things you need to know today. China boosts food imports amid the U.S. trade war, like I was saying. On March 5th, China announced plans to ramp up food imports from Latin America and Europe. Think Brazilian beef and French wheat, as Trump's new 20% tariffs on Chinese goods bite. It's a $50 billion pivot away from U.S. farms. So in 2018, Iowa soybean farmers lost $1 billion when China retaliated with tariffs. Now they're watching history repeat as their silos sit full. Number 5, the Supreme Court has rejected Trump's immigration push. Interesting. What they need to know: on March 6, 2025, the Supreme Court split 5-4, denying Trump's bid to reinstate a Remain in Mexico policy expansion, a win for sanctuary cities. Mayors from Boston and Chicago testified against it hours later. The original policy started in 2019, forced 60,000 migrants to wait in Mexico during case reviews. Trump wanted it broadened to all border crossers. In 2021, a migrant named Maria slept in a Tijuana tent for months under the policy. She told CBS her kids missed a year of school waiting. Those are the 5 news stories you can use today.
That just rubs me the wrong way. Those things don't make me particularly warm and fuzzy inside.
No, not necessarily, but that's the news you can use. And it's not all good news necessarily, but that's the world that we live in. And it's the one that we're going to unpack this morning on the Wake Up America show. Sorry that couldn't find you happier stories.
That's MAGA for all y'all.
Yeah, listen, a lot. I mean, I've been cheering on Doge, right? It's been very exciting the first month and a half, but there were, even though I supported Trump, I knew that there were things that Trump was advocating for before the election that I didn't support, that I would have to be in the trenches for after the election was over, and that I'd have to suffer the slings and arrows of people unfollowing me on X. And I think yesterday, actually, you got a message from someone who said that they don't support us anymore because of my stance on tariffs. Didn't you? What was it?
Oh, no, it wasn't your stance on tariffs.
Oh,
this
no.
person, so I was starting to advertise for I believe it was the Liberty Tonight guys on my page, and he was like, I already unfollowed AP for Liberty because he's been advertising, and now I'm going to do that to you too. I realize it's a family business, but still. And then he unfollowed me. So apparently libertarians don't even believe in capitalism.
You know what's amazing is that was one of the first things that shocked me about the libertarian movement was how the stated principles of capitalism are like right there in the books, but how like anti-capitalist, anti-consumerist many of them are.
Oh, absolutely. They don't know how businesses make money.
Yeah, well, that's because many of them are poor. right?
Yes.
I used to call them povertarians.
Oh, sure. Like, I don't know anything about this person. Their profile picture's anonymous.
Right.
Their name is anonymous. So
Exactly.
who knows who they are?
Right. Well, so, and our Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, he apparently is not a big fan of capitalism either, defended President Donald Trump's aggressive trade policies and doubled down on Trump's warning that the enactment of new tariffs may cause disruption. So they know they're going to hurt us. Access to cheap goods is not the essence of the American dream. Excuse me. Excuse me.
So I'm rethinking. I feel like they're gaslighting me in a way because they're making me feel like I'm crazy in my definition of the American dream. So can we go back and redefine the American dream?
Well, what would you say would be the essence of the American dream? Because, I mean, access to cheap, if access to cheap goods is not the essence of the American dream, meaning being able to afford like things like our coffee or like the knife that I was able to buy at right there that I use for my trout fishing, and should I have to make my own knives, right? Or any of the thing. I mean, all this technology that's on the table that I'm able to stream this show for. This shit ain't made in America. That caster over there, that Rodecaster, is actually made in Australia, right? It's one of the few high tech things that are made in a first world country. But
the American dream, to me, I picture the 1950s household where the man's going to work, the woman's at home with her pretty dress, and they're making their dreams come true. And by dreams, I mean they're able to financially support whatever it is that they want. But then I ask myself, but what are the limits of that? Because you can't just travel all around the world necessarily in America.
Mm-hmm.
It just means your dreams can come true. Like, you have the ability to become what you want, do what you want within limits. Like, I can't become an astronaut. I know that. But I can do a lot of other things because I'm here in America. So it's like I'm realistic about the dream, but I definitely think you pretty much have hope for a lot of things when you're here in America.
And all who manufacture what is sold.
Yes, this is what I
know
think
that
of.
American women
There you go. That's
often
me.
have the deciding
Yes.
voice in whatever we come to buy. They offer her the romance, the adventure of choosing from foods gathered from the
I
four
love it.
corners of America.
Going to the grocery store is my
And indeed,
favorite
from all the
thing
world.
to do, especially Costco.
All well lighted for selection, placed where she can reach them, arranged for time-saving as well as money-saving selection, even though she may shop only once a week.
No.
Behind all she sees and buys,
I love brown
are
paper bags.
suppliers.
Do you miss those?
yes,
And
I do.
suppliers of suppliers.
They're just so
Men
different than
and women
plastic.
who know how much the many pennies they save in handling what she buys before she buys may mean to her in individual purchases. These are pennies
there's Hazel.
saved that enable her to give the family more.
Oh,
for
is she
the
buying
penny.
beer for her husband?
I don't know,
Looking for
maybe.
low price. She may be wiser than those who think the most is always the
Oh,
cheapest.
pens.
How dare you? She wants cheaper prices? Excuse me? No. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said during a speech at the Economic Club of New York, access to cheap goods is not the essence of the American dream. The American dream is rooted in the concept that any citizen can achieve prosperity, upward mobility, and economic security. For too long,
Yes, that's true.
well, how are
About the upward mobility and the security.
well, what are you supposed to do with your money?
Right.
What are we allowed to do with our money? Please, daddy government. He says, for too long, the designers of multilateral trade deals have lost sight of this. International economic relations that do not work for the American people must be re-examined. So this is all response to the 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Trump has suspended them temporarily. but they are coming back.
Doesn't
right?
that show weakness that he suspended them temporarily? Doesn't that show like he's just not going full blown like, yes, this is right for America, let's do it. By pulling back, that shows weakness in my mind.
The best explanation that I've heard is that they are to get concessions. The problem, of course, is that they haven't demanded any concessions. They haven't asked for anything. They're just imposing the tariffs. They seem to, like, it's hard to tell whether or not he seems to think that they are actually an economic good. If he thinks they're an economic good, then this makes sense. If he doesn't think they're an economic good, then he's playing a game, right? So then he doesn't. Yeah. So then he actually is lying about tariffs being good. Yeah. Right. And that he thinks they are bad. Mm-hmm. Right. But then on the other hand, he actually in passing mentioned maybe we'll do a free trade agreement with Argentina, which would be not America first if tariffs are America first. Remember, our heads are spinning around and around and around on this stuff. Right.
I come back to recently we've been getting letters from our health insurance and MU Healthcare, which is a large healthcare company here in our area. And I think they're kind of playing the Trump game as well, in that they're trying to play, let's make a deal with each other. And they're threatening if the insurance doesn't give them so much money and MU Healthcare doesn't give the insurance so much money, then they're not going to have relations anymore. And they're pleading to the people and saying, please reach out to your insurance company, reach out to MU Health, let them know how important this is. I feel like it is a game. It's just playing with people to get them to do what you want them to do. Mm-hmm. I think that's what he's doing.
Could be.
He's twinkling a little carrot in front of Canada and in front of Mexico and any other country he's posing tariffs to. And he's saying, look, I'm going to do this for you. But if you give me something I want, I'm not going to do this. Mm.
Well, so the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said new tariffs would not be inflationary in the long term, saying the one-off effects are likely to be transitory. Similar claims to the President Joe Biden administration, which proved politically fatal as inflation surged in the wake of supply chain disruptions and massive government payments to Americans during the pandemics. Can tariffs be a one-time price adjustment? Yes, meaning that we're going to have higher prices and then it's not going to be higher prices anymore, which has never been the case.
Because
ever.
Usually when we put something forth, then there's more.
Exactly.
It's a slippery slope. We never say, that's the end, that's it. Okay, we're not doing it anymore.
Well, it's like, why? Like, here's the thing. Like, and this is now. It's like we had to fight the socialism and the communism and the economic literacy of the left for so long. Now we have to fight the economic illiteracy and the socialism of the right. It's the new battle, right? And a lot of it comes from cultural conservatives who have no grounding in economics whatsoever, right? It's all right. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was trolling the right by posting ideas for how to fund the government other than through tariffs, using the means that one of the means that the founding fathers enacted. And
which one is that?
They were like, that's idiotic. Somebody was like, this is libertarian buffoonery.
Buffoonery? Did you say the lottery? Is that the example? Yes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's something that was used.
Yeah, the entire government should be funded through a mass lottery system. But I just laugh because I like to post founding fathers' ideas as if they're my own and then see how people respond.
That's a great idea.
Oh, yeah. Like and it's you will find that, the right is not immune to the same retardation as the left when it comes to their lack of understanding of history, economics, the law, Constitution, and morality. It's just no matter where we turn, we're surrounded by retards. It's sad.
We are, and I definitely was reminded of that from that post from that person yesterday who unfollowed us simply because we were advertising products for our business.
Right. It's like, yes. I mean, over the years, when I've, before I started a full blown shop, I would engage in capitalistic enterprises from here to there. You got to do it to make money. So, I mean, but if you want to survive, you got to make money, right?
Yeah. But the American dream includes advertising.
Yeah. Exactly, Stephanie. Thank you.
Look at the commercial we were just watching here.
Yes.
Like they're advertising for grocery stores and for car dealerships.
Yes. 1950s advertising. People, they're sick of advertising, and if you don't want ads, don't follow us. For us, the mentality is it seems like a bad thing someone unfollows you. Like, for example, let's say whenever someone unsubscribes from our email list or our text messaging marketing list. That's actually a good thing for us because they're showing us that they're not interested and that we have to pay to store their phone number. We have to pay to store their email.
Yeah.
Right?
We have to pay to text them.
We have to pay to text them, right?
Yeah.
And there's a similar sort of like process for people who are on Rumble versus YouTube. Since the whole world is on YouTube, when people watch YouTube, they're much less likely to be as engaged as they are if they watch something on Rumble because Rumble is not as widespread, as ubiquitous as YouTube. So the people who are on Rumble are more valuable as viewers because they're more engaged because they had to go through a speed bump to get to the marketplace where we are in some ways. So it's sort of counterintuitive the way the economics of this works, but sort of the more hurdles you put in the way to a potential customer, the more narrowing down there is, whittling down to ensure that you have an opportunity to speak to someone who might actually be what is called a qualified lead. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
We're experts these days now, aren't we? You were saying that yesterday.
Oh, yeah. I was talking about that in regards to having a baby because I took Hazel to the doctor yesterday and I saw this couple that had a newborn baby and it brought me back to when we brought Hazel into the doctor for the very first time and how nervous I was. And I was just, there were so many unknowns and I didn't know what to expect. And so now with Hazel, when I go into the doctor, I go by myself a lot of times, whereas before I felt like I had to have someone else with me just to help me. And I feel so sure and confident of what I'm doing. And I almost miss that innocence that I had, that naivete that I had when Hazel was first born. And I realized that feeling is gone. And I don't think I'll ever have it again.
Since we're talking about advertising, it's been about a half an hour and we haven't done an ad. How about an advertisement? Are you ready, Stephanie? Here we go.
Let's do it. I really hope that person is watching. Who didn't like our ads.
Harvey, want anything special for your birthday?
Just a decent cup of coffee.
You're kidding.
I'm serious. Honey, your coffee's undrinkable.
Pretty harsh.
Well, so's your coffee. You know, the girls down at the office make better coffee on their hot plates. Well, see you later.
And he didn't even kiss me goodbye. You know, if I could just make a decent cup of coffee, I could relax. So, relax. Why don't you try Instant Folgers? Tastes good as
Founding
fresh
flavors.
Good as fresh pert. I'll surprise Harvey for his birthday tonight.
Hey, great coffee.
It's Instant Folgers. Doesn't it taste good as fresh perk?
It's Founding Flavors.
Better than those girls make at the office.
Honey, their coffee can't hold a candle to yours.
Sorry, Stephanie. Taste as good as fresh perked. Founding Flavors. Coffee.
Flavors.
Yes.
We need to make a commercial like that
Yes,
where
we
I'm
do.
wearing a 1950s housewife
Yes.
dress. Do you know you said something to me the other day that really good advertising that actually works is advertising that scares women. That brings
Yes.
out their fears.
Oh, I was telling you about like what are the fearful
Yes.
what are the fears that you induce in order to get people to buy things?
And
Yes.
that right there is a fear of women, that they're going to be replaced by another woman,
By a younger
and they're
woman.
in competition with these other women, and they have to try real hard to impress their hubby, or else he's going to go off with the office girls.
Yes.
Which
So-
is what he was insinuating here.
So for all the ladies out there who want to keep their man, we have the product for you.
Oh.
Go ahead, Stephanie. Show them.
We've got Founding Flavors coffee. We have lots of different blends. Madisonian Morning, Thomas's Painkiller to help your husband with that splitting headache that he has from working so hard. Give him a back massage and some coffee.
Yes. So if you are the type of person who likes to stay ahead of trends, don't miss out. Don't get left behind. Everyone's got Founding Flavors coffee. If you don't have Founding Flavors coffee, then I'm afraid, well, you just might be the laughing stock of your small town, and you don't want to be the laughing stock of your small town,
No,
do you?
your neighbors are going to be talking about you.
Listen, there's a threat. There's a communist threat in this country, and the cure is more Founding Flavors. It'll keep you young.
Oh.
It will keep you young. It will keep you beautiful. It will lock you in at your current age and beauty. Now, if you don't buy Founding Flavors coffee, I'm afraid you might just become a social reject where they're all going to laugh at you.
That's how my hair is so pretty. I drink Founding Flavors.
And those were the first 4 out of 5 fears that you play on in order to get people to purchase products. Fear of missing out, FOMO. People dread being left behind. 2, fear of insecurity or danger, right? So there's a threat to you, right? The communist threat. 3, fear of aging or decline. That's a big one for women, right? If you sell a product that's going to prevent the aging or decline. 4, fear of social rejection. Nobody wants to be the outcast. And then 5, fear of financial ruin, right? So buy gold or you're all going to die in the apocalypse.
Oh, yes. Put this in your go bag. You definitely need this in your prepping materials here.
Yes, William Albrecht can testify that Franklin's electric elixir is the nectar of the gods.
William, and you are a coffee subscriber. Thank you for that. Good to see you here.
So where can people go to get our delicious Founding Flavors coffee before other people get it? And it's, they don't want to be behind the trends.
Because it's going to be gone.
That's right.
For libertyshop.com, you can get all of the different flavors of Founding Flavors.
There we go.
And we have some newer, cheaper varieties to save you some pennies in your pocket.
There you go. Like
Sherman's Sunrise.
And Hamilton or Hancock's
Hazelnut.
Hancock's Hazelnut available at forlibertyshop.com for those who are budget conscious.
That's right. And then you can have more money in your pocket to go to the grocery store and buy your husband some beer.
There you go, right? Don't let those ladies out at the office steal your husband away.
Oh, no.
Give your husband Founding Flavors coffee. There we go. Thank you. How was that? That was a good ad.
I really like my 1950s housewife voice.
I think it's pretty good.
Yes. It's my alter ego.
Yes. So we're talking this morning about several things. It's 7:30 this morning on the Wake Up America show. We're glad to have you live. Please do click the like button. And if today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, I'm Austin Peterson. This is my lovely wife, Stephanie Peterson. My brother, Justin Peterson, will be here in half an hour. And so make sure you stick around with us, but click the follow button in order to support the Wake Up America show for free. You can get a notification whenever we go live, which is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. Make sure that you guys click that follow button so you get those notifications and you can come back and join us on the regs. If you want to support the Wake Up America show, but you don't feel like that engaging in that rampant consumerism, then drop a Rumble rant. What say you guys? That's right. Or go to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support, and all of those dollars go directly to us. We love to see Mr. Embry, Will Run Riot, Steelbringer, Grizz Cheese, Fiery Waco, Dad Bod Baboon, Drew Van Runkle, and so many others. Eric Wilson Live, Bruce Burtwhistle, Cecilia, L-Dubs, and so many others of our friends. Kermode Bear, Mongoose 87. Good morning, everybody. Fiery Waco, I wrote back to you this morning. I read your Ukraine plan, so I gave you some comments. There we go. We're going to put together our comments. Did you send them over? Yep. Already did? Okay. Well, thank you very much for doing that, Steph. You're handling that. We appreciate you guys. Austin and I were talking about it this morning. We were, yes. While I was in the shower, she was talking about Fiery Waco. We're always thinking about you guys. We really are. It is true, even when we're naked. That's right. That's what turns us on. Especially when we're naked. Stephanie, no! Stop. We are pineapples, of course. Uh-oh, people are going to be scared to go to D.C. with us now that we've got the whole pineapple thing going on. They're going to be like, this is a trap. So, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, George Soros... What did they say? Protege, yes. Yeah, and he's a hedge fund fund guy, George Soros protege, who has become one of Trump's top economic policy advisors. Where's the sort of QAnon MAGA freak out over this guy being the George Soros protege? I mean, he went to Yale. If you had said Skull and Bones, if you had said that the Treasury Secretary was a George Soros protege before he got nominated for that role, I don't know if the MAGA people would be that happy about it, to be quite honest. But let's tackle this question around let's tackle the question of whether or not cheap consumer products are part of the American dream. In 1950, Stephanie, the median family income was $3,300. That was the
my
median
goodness.
income. And a modest home cost about $7,354.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Right, roughly 2.2 times annual earnings.
Imagine if you inherited a house that was that much money.
Oh, my God.
Ooh.
Yeah, contrast that with today's median home price, which is over $400,000, which is dwarfing our median income, right?
Oh, my goodness.
It's a ratio closer to 5.4.
Yes.
So post-World War II, the GI Bill handed out low-interest loans, letting vets like, my great-uncle Robert buy a Levittown house for $8,000 in 1947. No down payment. Just
Really?
Just $60.
I even had to put a down payment on our van.
Yeah,
Goodness.
Yeah, no down payment, just $60 a month. Affordable goods, think a $25 washing machine. Freed up, that's right. So Bessent's statements here dismisses how cheap goods built the middle class, right? One of the miracles of modern capitalism, this sounds sexist, but it's true, is the modern washing machine. Talking about consumer goods, like cheap goods are not the essence of the American dream. Yes, they effing are. Stephanie, how would you like to have the laundry that you do so wonderfully and on time to keep me in my underwear and my socks? How would you like to have to go out to the creek and beat my pineapple shirts on the rocks in the runoff in the creek behind the house?
Right. Those modern conveniences.
These modern conveniences.
But then I wonder, is all of this relative, right? Like back then, was a $25 washing machine, was that a lot of money for an income that was only $3,000 something a year?
Yes. So
I'm
let's
wondering
do the
if it's all
inflation.
relative. Although we were watching somebody recently, and he was talking about the average income back in the 1980s, I believe, and it was like what was it, $50,000 or something, or $30,000? Yeah, it was like $30,000, and now like the average income is like $60,000. So it hasn't gone up very much, but house prices have gone up a lot more.
So let's do the math here. In 1950, so a $25 washing machine in 1950. In 1950, $25 could buy you a decent washing machine or a month's groceries for a small family. Today, $325 might cover a mid-range appliance or a couple of weeks worth of food, depending on where you shop. So inflation has eaten away at our purchasing power. Back then, it was about 2 weeks' wages for a low-end job. Now it's a day or two. So let's see. So at $25 in 1950 times 13.01, which was that's the modifier. So $325.25 in March 2025. So there you go. $25 now, $325.
So it is kind of relative to how
to
much
some
we're
extent.
making then?
Right. Well, it depends, right? So there's another question there, right?
Right.
So it's in some ways it's relative. So you have to kind of like extrapolate a little bit on this one,
know.
right? And then get a little bit more precise. And then a lot of people, of course, they have different priorities.
Yeah.
Which is another question in this,
we
right?
can speak to this. So McDonald's, right? It became very, very popular for getting cheap food really fast. And so we still like McDonald's. We go there. It's still very fast, but it's not cheap.
That's right. It used to be. It used
Right.
to be. But not anymore. Not anymore.
Right.
Cheap goods fueled happy homes. By 1957, 96% of American homes had refrigerators, up from 44% in 1940s.
Oh my goodness. Imagine not having a refrigerator. They used to have ice boxes before then.
Yeah.
And then before then, they probably kept them in these like cold caves outside their home.
Yes, but thanks to consumerism, no thanks to right-wing socialists, mass production dropping prices, like a GE fridge costing $229 in 1955, about 2 months average wages. So
Wow, refrigerators were very expensive.
Absolutely. So picture June Cleaver's real-life counterpart in 1953. She's happy, she's beaming as she stocks her new Frigidaire with 49-cent chuck roast from the A&P. Cheap goods didn't just fill bellies, they gave families time and security. Bessent's luxury lens ignores that foundation. So Bessent, he's a billionaire, right?
Yeah.
Trump's a billionaire. It's all these rich people. I love it when rich people deign to tell people like us that cheap goods is not the essence of the American dream, right? These are people who they don't do their own grocery shopping,
No.
right? They don't cook their own food. They certainly never eat at McDonald's, most of them. They look down on us for, doing something like that.
Although
right?
Trump jokes that he eats at
He
what
does.
was it? He had a McDonald's or Burger King meal for everybody.
Trump is the only one who does, and we give it up for Trump on that.
Yeah.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would be very unhappy with him for that.
Of course, unless it's beef tallow that the fries are being cooked in.
Which, speaking of, apparently now Steak and Shake is cooking all their food on beef tallow.
We should
including
go
their
there.
French
I have a
fries.
coupon
Yeah,
actually
let's do
talking
it.
about cheap things.
Let's do it. Let's go to Steak and Shake.
But the thing is, I feel like rich people are very out of touch.
No
And I'm
shit.
realizing this more and more. And I don't know what to do about it. Does that mean that we should vote middle class people into office more so rather than the people from Yale?
All you're doing is replacing elitism then with Ludditism, right? Then you'll just have the similar problems. See, here's the thing. The elites, they don't have beliefs like you and I do. They don't have ideologies. They don't really have religion, right? They just claim they have beliefs. They claim they have religion. They claim they have ideology. Because here's the thing. Religion is a good ladder to get yourself socially to a next level, and so elites use it,
It
right?
gives you good motivation and hope.
It's more about using people. It's for the elites.
Oh, I thought I was talking about the individual themselves, like having religion in their life.
Give me a moment to explain.
Okay.
To explain my theory here. Having beliefs is an impediment to power and to money. If you believe in something, right? If you have convictions, if you have morals, or if you have standards, those are things that will act as impediments to getting you what it is that you want.
Yes.
I mean, how many times have we seen Donald Trump flip-flop on things that he believes, right? Because at the heart, he's an individualist capitalist to the extent that he's doing what's in his own best interest at all times, at every point, in order to advance himself and what he believes. Now, do I think that broadly that he is someone who loves America and wants the best for the United States? Yes, as long as it's in his own best interests. And that is the view of the elites. The view of the elites is that they will do whatever it takes to get power and to get money. They will break any rule, break any law, slander anyone, destroy anyone, kill anyone that gets in their way in order to get in power. And this whole shtick of populism that we're seeing from these elites, like Scott Bessent, this whole cheaper goods, the only reason they're saying or doing things like this is because they're playing on the popular sentiment of the time. They're playing on what they think will get them votes, what sounds good.
This isn't
right?
popular. What he's saying?
Yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is.
People want expensive goods.
So people for the hippies were very successful in spreading an anti-consumerist cancer in this country, an anti-capitalist, anti-consumerist, so much that it is consumed now broadly the American right, because an identity politics on the right has also we've also been infected with identity politics, such that people they really believe that the lack of meaning in their lives is due to the electronics in their pockets and the consumer goods that they're surrounded with. They buy things and it doesn't make them happy. And there's a good point to that, right? People do use purchases, like some people use drugs, or some people use alcohol, or other addicted behaviors and things like that in order to fill what religious people would say is the God-shaped hole in their heart, right? And what you might say as a therapist is like their problems they had,
they
some
have a
Freudian void,
because of their past and not getting enough love
in
and
their
support.
heart. Right. And so it feels good to blame capitalism or consumerism, first of all, because most people don't get their beliefs because they went and they studied in order to come to a conclusion and use the scientific method. Most people get their beliefs because other people around them believe it.
Oh, yeah.
It's very rare, for example, that you will have a Christian child who grows up and is Muslim. Right? Or chooses to be Muslim, right? Typically, right? Most people get their beliefs because of the community that they're surrounded by, not because they sat down and said, oh, let me choose from all of these and narrow them down and make a decision based on what, the best available information is. right? And then it's even harder once they've decided what they believe to change their minds if new evidence comes in to counteract it.
Yeah.
So for decades, the left has been propagandizing the American people against capitalism, against liberty, against freedom, against consumerism, and suggesting that these are the things that are hollowing us out, that our ability to purchase cheap goods is what's really harming the American people. And the tariff canard really is a misdirection from the economic truths, which are from the fact that they'll say we're getting screwed from trade because China is playing also all these tariffs on American goods. But here's the thing: if China places $1 billion tax on something, and someone comes in and decides to buy it anyway, why would they buy if they didn't want it, if it didn't help them, if it didn't benefit them, they wouldn't buy it. Right? Most of these people need to go back and watch some basic John Stossel videos. Yes. They need to go back and watch some basic John Stossel videos to get them like back into why is it when I go to the store, why is it when I buy something that the cashier says thank you and I say thank you? Why do both sides say thank you instead of, hey, you screwed me, pal? Right? Why is it, that's because mutual trade is for mutual benefit.
That's right. Yeah, it's bringing me back to my Austrian economic studies and my human action book. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so confusing. We're all just being manipulated, it seems like.
At all times. We are constantly being propagandized. But here's the thing. The elites, they don't believe what we believe, right? They don't have beliefs, right? They're not libertarians or conservatives, right? They're only Republicans or Democrats because that's what the people in their district are a majority of, and so they choose to run in that party because that's the majority party. We know lots of people who are like this, that they're a Republican in name only. We call them rhinos, right? Yeah. It's just they have all the same Democrat beliefs as Democrats, but because we live in a Republican district, they run as Republicans, right? They have no beliefs, right? They just have the will to power. And so, you have to, if neocons, for example, if George W. Bush or Jeb Bush had become the president if Jeb Bush had become the president instead of Donald Trump, Marco Rubio would still be a neoconservative, right? He would still, everybody, all of the halls of power would still be aimed towards that version of conservatism, right? And so now, the Heritage Foundation is coming out against capitalism and, in favor of these economically illiterate programs and policies, because they want to survive. They want to continue to get donor money. They want to continue to be in power. They don't have beliefs. Any major institution in Washington, D.C. that's of a certain size, it can be the most pro-life, full of the most rabidly pro-life people you'd ever imagine. But they will kill 1 million babies if it means ensuring that they all get to keep their jobs. That's just the truth. They do not have beliefs. Beliefs are for the common people.
Yeah, and that's why I can't relate to this mindset. This is boggling my mind. I mean, I'm just trying to put myself in their shoes and wrap my mind around it. And I'm even seeing that these beliefs are leaching into the libertarian communities. We've talked to some fellow libertarians who are even afraid of opening up e-commerce shops because they feel like they're grifting.
Yeah.
In what world can you not, open up a shop to benefit other people?
Well, grifting is here's the thing. They don't even understand the definition of grift. The dictionary definition of grift is that you're ripping people off, meaning that if we took people's money, if we sold them Founding Flavors coffee and we sent them empty boxes and they didn't get coffee, that would be called grifting. That's grifting.
Of course, if we lied about what we were providing to the people. But it's just so sad to me that libertarians are even turning against the free market. And they're saying, you know what? I don't even want to engage in business myself.
No, many of them do.
People are going to look down on me.
Yes, they're terrified of they're terrified of the response that you got when somebody said they're unfollowing us because we're advertising. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Let me just say this. I'm a libertarian more than I would be a Randian, but I'm probably a lot more Randian than I am what most libertarians in the United States are today, right? So contrast me with your Dave Smith or your Clint Russells or any of the other people.
What do you think they are?
Well, they're much more of a It's really hard to describe. It's kind of more like closer to a. I won't even say Rothbardian because Rothbardian.
He's anarchist.
Maybe Rothbardian.
Well, they say that they're anarchists.
Yeah, closer
a lot
to
of them.
they're more anarchist, right? Whereas like I would be closer to Ayn Rand on like things like foreign policy,
Okay.
right?
And how did she feel about foreign policy?
Well, she was more of a hawk,
Okay.
right? She was not.
war hawk?
She was not a neocon. Yeah.
Oh.
She was more hawkish. Like
She
I am.
liked war.
Well, she liked killing terrorists, and she liked killing, imperial Japanese theocrats
Right.
and Nazis. Yeah,
Because of her history of living in Europe,
and in Russia,
she came out being
absolutely.
like, you need to protect yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you need to kill yourself some fucking Nazis and some fucking commies. Absolutely. Yeah, and I completely agree. So that makes me closer to the objectivist side of libertarianism. But here's the thing: Ayn Rand did not like libertarians. She
didn't?
She did not have nice things to say about us.
So what did she call herself?
So
she
here's-
wasn't a libertarian.
So here's the thing. Her criticisms of libertarians, I think, were pretty damn near spot on. Despite the fact that I do consider myself to be a libertarian,
Yeah.
I could still criticize libertarians. Most libertarians do, right? You're not a
well,
real
because
libertarian.
they're not real, right? Exactly.
Right. But Ayn Rand criticized libertarians as plagiarists of her ideas, right? She accused them of borrowing her philosophy without credit. She saw libertarianism's focus on limited government as a watered-down echo of her own advocacy for laissez-faire capitalism, but without her moral grounding in rational self-interest. I think that she makes very good points there, and I agree. Here's number two, I think, is I totally agree with her on this, is that she called us the hippies of the right. Yes. In a 1972 Ford Hall forum, Rand called libertarians hippies of the right, slamming their eclectic mix of anarchism and anti-government rhetoric. She said they want liberty without reason, without a moral base. It's a monstrous contradiction. I agree. Rand loathed their rejection of her structured ethical system. She thought liberty without objectivism's emphasis on reason and individualism was aimless rebellion, akin to the counterculture she despised. Agreed, Ayn. Agreed.
I mean, yeah, maybe I am more Randian. I don't know.
Well, let's continue. Here she says rejection of anarchism. So that's I'm also a reject. I reject anarchism.
Yeah.
Rand specifically attacked libertarian anarchists like Murray Rothbard. In a 1976 interview, she says anarchism is a naive, floating abstraction. Libertarians who advocate it are worse than socialists. They deny reality. She believed government was essential to protect individual rights. She also said that they were moral cowards. She says that libertarians evade the necessity of a moral code. They want freedom as a gift, not as a fight. There's my point. I agree with.
Freedom as a gift, not a fight. What does that mean?
Liberty is never given.
Right.
It is only, ever, and always has been, and always ever will be taken.
Right.
Liberty is not a gift. It is a fight. You have to fight for it.
Yeah.
You have to show up.
And a lot of libertarians don't show up.
They don't. They run their goddamn mouths on X.
That's right.
But they don't show up. They have a lot of strong opinions about why the founding fathers' ideas about lotteries were idiotic and libertarian buffoonery. But they don't show up to the Cole County Republican Party meetings to hang out with Rudy Veit and Edie Vogel. And
are they there? I didn't know they go to those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah, you need to
that's
come to the next
cool.
one. Bring Hazel.
Do you think I could do that?
Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, you can come.
Cool.
Right, but they're moral cowards, she says. Ayn Rand says, and intellectually lazy.
I think a lot of libertarians, they just don't want to make moral decisions. Because they're just like, do whatever you want, man.
Well, that's the
whatever works
hippies.
for you, as long as you don't hurt anyone else. That's my moral code, man.
That's the hippies. Now, I'm not sure I necessarily agree with this last point that she said, but I actually, I appreciate the attempt. When she was asked about the Libertarian Party in 1981, she says the LP is a cheap attempt at publicity by people who don't understand what they're talking about. She said, I'd rather vote for a consistent statist than a fake capitalist. Damn. Oh, my God.
So she's
Ouch.
saying libertarians really don't know what they're talking about, and they really don't mean what they say.
Yeah, she says that they're hippies and that they don't have a grounding in morality or reason. And
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. I do.
The libertarians that I have gotten to know.
Yeah.
there's really not much there.
It's a lot about, smoking weed, man, and a lot of,
And they spew out quotes and random philosophies. Mm-hmm. And then they just go down this rabbit hole of discussing ideas, and then there's really no plan or action that they're going to take.
Yes, moral cowardice. So Rand's beef wasn't with liberty itself, right? She championed it, but what she saw was that libertarianism had a lack of depth. She wanted capitalism defended as a moral ideal, not just a practical preference. Mm-hmm. Her comments were, dripping with contempt for us. She painted libertarians as opportunistic, sloppy thinkers, piggybacking on her work without grasping its core. And her critique still echoes in debates between hardcore objectivists and broader libertarian circles, right? People still spar over her legacy. But, for the most part, I agree with Ayn Rand. You want to hear something that would piss libertarians off from Ayn Rand?
Oh, sure.
Here's one that'll...
It's just funny, though, because libertarians are all like, Ayn Rand, we love her. She's our idol.
Yes. Now, we're getting ready to go to get Justin Peterson here in just a few minutes. We're going to talk to him about Hamilton at the Kennedy Center being canceled because Donald Trump has taken over. We're going to talk to him a little bit about the hierarchy that is necessary in the arts. But Stephanie, I want you to listen to what Ayn Rand had to say about Israel, foreign policy in the Middle East. This is the kind of thing that I've been saying over the last few years. The libertarians have been so pissed at me over, because this is about how I feel in regards to foreign policy as well. I'm with Ayn Rand. Listen to this.
Is against. I'd like to know your opinion on the United States' foreign policy and what is happening in the Middle East right now.
Right now, I'm not sure we know what's happening. I think the United States foreign policy has been disgraceful for years, for decades. I would say roughly since the New Deal, and in part even before that. But if you mean whose side should one be on, Israel or the Arabs, I would certainly say Israel, because it's the advanced, technological, civilized country amidst a group of almost totally primitive savages who have not changed for years and who are racist and who resent Israel because it's bringing industry and intelligence and modern technology into their stagnation.
Your philosophy of objectivism.
That's right.
I just have one point that I think should be made, Ms. Rand, with time fleeting here. Your characterization of the situation in the Middle East came down rather gratuitously and in a very angry way on the Arabs, and without discussing the merits of either side in a most complicated and painful collision of cultures and peoples in our world. Why couldn't the millions of men, women, and children who are Arab and who find themselves in this desperate conflict and look around wondering where peace will be, why can't they be angry with you for your characterization of them, your slap at them, your roundhouse criticism of them, when you don't seem to be able to tolerate a questioner who suggests that she disagrees with you? Characterization is you do not accept any criticism unless you level it.
No, I don't resort to terrorism. I don't go around murdering my opponents, innocent women and children. That is what I have against the Arabs. That takes the conflict out of the sphere of civilized conflict and makes it murderous. And anyone, private citizens, who resort to force is a monster. And that's what makes me.
Dang. We need her right now.
We need Ayn Rand. That's what I said. America needs Ayn Rand.
She could deal with this Ukraine-Russia thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
With Israel, Gaza.
She'd handle it. We'll be right back with Justin Peterson, my brother, on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Don't go away. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom
with Adams's patriotic perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's patriotic perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star.
Well, first of all, Sean, thanks for having me. It has been a while, and it's great to be back here on Fox. Look, the reality is the Kennedy Center is open for business for everyone. We just want an art center that celebrates arts. We want common sense art. We think that it's time to invite every single person to the Kennedy Center. But one important thing to note, we issued a statement tonight. The new team at the Kennedy Center has not canceled anyone. I know there's some rumors out there that somehow we were canceling shows. We have not canceled anyone. They've pulled out themselves, or they were told that due to ticket sales, it wasn't financially good enough, and they decided to back out because they were concerned about the finances. And so we want a Kennedy Center that is open to everyone. And what that means is that shows like Hamilton are going to have to allow Republicans to buy tickets. But Lin-Manuel said, I don't want to have Republicans coming here. I don't want to be in a space where Republicans are coming to my shows. I think that's intolerant. And that's one of the things that Donald Trump has really brought back into Washington, into America, into the Kennedy Center, is to say everyone is welcome. We're not going to cancel. We're not going to tell people that they're not welcome. Everyone is welcome.
Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. I'm here with my smoking hot, red-headed libertarian wife, Steffi. Hey, Steph.
Hello. Hamilton.
Hamilton.
I saw Hamilton.
President Donald Trump's brazen takeover of the Kennedy Center has led to the venue losing out on the major Broadway hit Hamilton, whose creators are pulling out of a scheduled run next year. In a statement Wednesday, the musical's producer said Trump's recent purge of staff and performances flies in the face of everything this national cultural center represents. Here to join us now is a national cultural treasure himself. He's my brother, Justin Peterson. Hey, JP.
I'm glad to be here. America's favorite.
America's darling.
I'm like the Betty White of your show.
Justin, happy Friday, man. Whenever you're here with us, we're always happy. The audience loves you, and it's just a good reminder of what matters in life, and that's family, brother. Good morning. We love you.
And comedy. And comedy.
Yes.
That's right.
Tragedy tomorrow and comedy tonight.
But no Hamilton.
It's kind of a fascinating story for those who are interested. I mean, every time I stumble, on my X page, I find another right-wing account who's posting about how much they hate musical theater, how much they hate shows, right? And a lot of it has to do with, the homosexuality inherent. But then for others, is they're like, there hasn't been a single good musical. And I'm like, motherfucker, attend The Tale of Sweeney Todd.
Ooh,
or
that's good.
Little Shop of Horrors. Or Tonight Won't Be Just Any Night, right? What the hell? It's like these people have never seen a musical. And so I'm tired of being surrounded. On one hand, you have Richard Grinnell, and I applaud the takeover of the Kennedy Center. It is time to sort of de-wokeify the arts, and we're going to hear from you on your blog, in which is getting a lot of heat. Apparently, you got a lot of unfollows yourself for some of the things that you were saying in de-wokeifying the arts. Certainly needs to happen. It needs to happen. But then, how is it going to happen when the right seems to be devoid of of love for the arts? Or like, how do you take over the Kennedy Center and then say something as sort of tone deaf as we need common sense in the arts? What are you, retarded? Like, common sense? Like, the arts are sort of like a complete repudiation of common sense. It's wild, it's magical, it's mystical, it's like spiritual. It's and if the arts are a lot of things, but I don't know that there's a lot of common sense in the arts, in my opinion. So we're sort of stuck between a hard place and a retard. Justin, can you make this all make sense?
Well, I hope I'm the hard place.
Oh boy! Do you wear pineapples by any chance?
Demystify this story, Justin.
Well, no, you said something I really liked, responded to, and we've talked about it on your show before, which is that you can't complain about the culture if you don't get involved in it.
Yeah.
This is always my issue. Were conservatives pushed out of the arts? Probably. I mean, I see a lot of. I mean, I'm not a conservative, so I just need to raise my hand and be like, I'm not a conservative, right? But because it's like if this binary of you're on this side or that side, I'm like, I'm on none of y'all's side. But the idea, okay, that you have an audience of people that are also conservative or maybe centrist, right? Because now to be a centrist is to be alt-right, right? If you're just even in the middle, you're considered to be alt-right. It is, to me, a real gross violation of what the arts are supposed to be, which is about bringing people together from disparate backgrounds and different places so that we can all come together in one location and be united through a story. Because human beings are story-creating machines. In fact, I have learned this just as being a business owner and writing. People connect with story. If you want to change the world, you have to do it through story. You cannot do it through, just saying, well, you need to change, you need to be different. It has to be a compelling enough story that people will jump and say, oh, yeah, I really responded to that. And anytime we've had any cultural change in our society, it's because of story. Right, because the way a story was told, like look at Lincoln Riley, that's a story, right? That's a story that people respond to. So the arts is about telling stories. And when you sort of cut off your nose to spite your face, Lin-Manuel Miranda actually went to the New York Times before he told the Kennedy Center what he was going to do. So he was drumming up, sort of the news cycle about what was going to go on before it even happened. And I just think it's really smug. I think it's a very smug thing to do. What about the kids? Oh gosh. Why are you making me say things on television? It's not television. You have, this is how old I am. I still say, I'm not going to go on the phone. You have kids, right, who love Hamilton. And maybe they grew up in a conservative home. And now they can't go to see Hamilton because the beliefs of their parents are, not copacetic for the tyrannical, desires of a musical theater writer. So this is where people's politics actually affect workaday people who are just wanting to enjoy their lives, wanting to maybe forget for 2 or 3 hours about the problems of the world and just enjoy being entertained. You look at the 1930s in Hollywood and look at all those gorgeous movies that were made in the 1930s that were escapist fare, that were there to let people get out of the drudgery of their lives during the Depression so that they could come and look at something beautiful and something exciting and talent and to deny people the right to do that, to me, is a gross violation of the ethics of what art is about for me. It's about coming together. It's about everybody coming together. And again, to deny that, This is where, again, oh, I'm going to do this thing. I don't care how it affects other people. I'm just going to, this is what we should be doing. This is how policymakers, I just detest them because they never see the long range effect of their own bullshit. You know, they don't see how things are going to affect people. Like, how do you tell a 12-year-old girl who loves to dress up like Eliza, Schuyler from, Hamilton, who goes, I went to Hamilton. These little kids dress up, Austin. They dress up in the Revolutionary wear. They go and they wear the Benjamin, Franklin outfits, and they dress up like the founders, and they go to the show to like celebrate Hamilton. And now you're just going to be like, no, you people can't go because you don't have the right, quote unquote, opinions. So I think it's dastardly. I think it's dastardly, and I don't support it at all.
Yeah, no, it's... Go ahead, Steph.
I wonder if 1776, the musical, would be welcome at the Kennedy Center.
I mean, I'm sure it would. You know, the funny thing about 1776, the musical, just a little bit of pop trivia, is that the original production has a song that has been cut out of it, that was cut out of it, because it was asked to be performed at the White House. And if my memory serves me correctly, they did not... No, they did. They did play the original song that's been removed from the movie version of it. But it's the one about calm, considerate men. And it's a critique of conservative men, because the conservative men of the South in the original musical, and then of course in 1776, the Declaration of Independence, they would not allow the destruction of the institution of slavery at the nation at the Declaration of Independence. So the story of the Declaration is one of compromise with the Southern states, which were more conservative, and of course they did not want to get rid of their institution of slavery, so they had to make the deal with the North that slavery would remain. And so in the musical is the song Cool, Considerate Men, and it describes conservative philosophy, which is to be careful, to be considerate, to be cool, to not to give in to revolutionary passions. It was to resist quick, fast change, which is, of course, I mean, it's... You say you're not a conservative, Justin. I'm not a conservative either, because, of course, I'm a revolutionary. I don't want things to stay the same. I want broad, quick, fast changes to a system. I just want it away from progressivism. I want more 1776. I want more American Revolution, not French Revolution, in a way, right? So
yeah, no, I responded, but I'm writing. I just was putting the finishing touches on my article that I'm writing this morning. And it came to me at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had to get up out of bed and write it because, when the muse strikes, it's like you gotta obey that bitch. You just gotta get up and do what she says. So I got up about 3 a.m. because I don't know how it struck me, but I just got up and I just started writing at like 3:30 a.m. and I finished it around 5 a.m. I talk a lot in the article about cathedrals, right? The idea of a cathedral requires a culture that values things that they won't see finished, that they're part of something that's greater than themselves, right? So if you've ever been to Barcelona, which I have, and I've been to the Sagrada Familia cathedral there, which is still under construction. It was started like in the 1800s, and they're still putting the finishing touches on it. Mm-hmm. But the culture of development that's required for a cathedral requires that people not look at the past and tear it down. Because if generations were to say, well, we don't want that cathedral, we're going to tear it down, then all the things that have been built prior are just being destroyed. My thing with revolutionary zeal, and this is what I talk about in my article, and maybe this will be a point of argument for us all, but I find that revolutions seek to destroy. They don't build. They don't build anything. They're not interested in building things. They seek to pull things down. Now, there are some things that, of course, should be pulled down. But in a liberal society, we hope that we can use argumentation and we can use the rule of law and legislation to make those changes slowly over time. Because I think the founders did create our system to be slow to prevent the shedding of blood. Because I think if we didn't have a slower system, we would have a lot more civil war in our country. Mm-hmm. Because people would really beat each other's throats. And
Washington wanted to restrain men like Jefferson, who thought there should be a bloody revolution every 20 years. So give me a minute. This is a fascinating story, and it's completely relevant. Now, let me tell the story.
You saying like I'm George Washington?
Yes, you're more
And you're
Washington.
Jefferson.
Yes, more federalist than anti-federalist here. Here's this. This is a beautiful story, and thank you, Latrell L. Dubs, for your $20 Rumble rant.
Latrell,
Thank
we
you.
really appreciate you. Thank you.
Amazing, we appreciate it. In February 1970, Richard Nixon invited the Broadway cast of 1776 to perform the full show in the White House for Washington's birthday celebration. The musical debuted in 1969, won the Tony for Best Musical, dramatizes the debates around the Declaration of Independence. It was the first time a full-length Broadway show was staged at the White House.
Cool.
A big deal, arranged after the first daughter, Tricia Nixon, saw it on Broadway and suggested it for her father's performing arts series. See, conservatives weren't always opposed to the arts. The trouble brewed over the song Cool, Cool, Considerate Men, a number where conservative delegates, led by John Dickinson, sing about clinging to wealth and privilege, with lyrics like, to the right, ever to the right, never to the left, forever to the right, and most men with nothing would rather protect the possibility of becoming rich than face the reality of being poor. It's a sharp jab at self-interested conservatism, painting these delegates as elitists, resisting revolution to preserve their status. Now, Richard Nixon was a Republican with a keen sense of political image. He took it personally, and the cast apparently didn't hold back. They performed it with additional verve.
Ooh.
When they when they were in the White House. Now, accounts differ on Nixon's reaction. Hunt, sitting next to him, recalled an icy moment, broken only when Nixon leapt up shouting "Bravo," which was possibly a calculated move to diffuse the tension. Some cast members were kind of wary of Nixon. They debated even going, but they saw it as a chance to stick it to him. And then the real pushback came later. When 1776 was adapted into a film, Jack Warner, the producer, and a Nixon friend who supported his campaigns, screened it from the White House. Nixon, who was still pissed from the Cool, Cool, Considerate Men slight, asked Warner to cut it, calling it a slam against conservatism. Warner obliged, not just removing it, but ordering the negatives destroyed to erase it from history, a move echoing his past meddling with A Star is Born. Luckily, an editor stashed the footage in unmarked boxes in a Kansas salt mine, and it was later restored for later releases like the Laserdisc and DVD director cuts. So Nixon didn't storm out. He was a gracious host, but he later tried to get his revenge, and they had to spirit it away. What an incredible story of American history and musical theater history.
Wow.
Amazing.
I love that story. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew about this.
And who can you imagine today? I'm this major studio head in line with the Republican president. I mean, that's what shocks me. But yeah,
I mean,
what the culture used to be.
Did you see the movie Reagan, Justin?
I did see the movie Reagan. Yes.
That was like another example in history when like Hollywood to some extent was sort of like aligned with the president in a way. Yeah. Right? Didn't we play the Gene Hackman clip last week when he was talking about how he liked Ronald Reagan and things like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You did play that.
So there have been some, crossovers with Hollywood and with conservatism and with power in Washington D.C. But it's fascinating that Nixon tried to destroy it. He tried to have it destroyed, and that and thankfully someone defied him and defied that director and stored it away in a Kansas salt mine so that we could still enjoy this critique of conservatism. Which
for me, because it hits my thing about censorship, and I because I hate censorship. I think
same.
I think it's stupid, and especially with the arts. To censor the arts is
It's like what was the Mark Twain quote? He says that censorship is telling baby can't have steak because baby can't chew it.
Hazel can have steak.
Yeah,
Trust
she can.
us.
Yes.
And she has no teeth.
Yeah, speaking of censorship, Quest Fanning says Reagan was not shown in theaters here in Brooklyn. Doesn't surprise me. Good morning, everyone. Let's reset.
Wow, isn't that interesting? Reagan was not shown there. People really hate him.
Ronald Reagan.
Even in libertarian circles.
Yeah, he's a very misunderstood character from history. I think that people got sick of the lionization of him. So there are people like pendulum swing. Right, when they go hard one way, they'll swing hard the other way. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is that much of the criticism of Ronald Reagan from libertarian circles is that he's not libertarian enough.
Right.
And the criticism now that Republicans, like the populist right wingers, the ones who say that consumerism is not the American dream, Their argument is that Ronald Reagan was too libertarian. They don't like Ronald Reagan. He was far too libertarian for our taste. Drug warrior, Soviet Union ender, massive military budget expander, Ronald Reagan, too libertarian. So it just goes to show that everybody sees what they want to see, and everybody is looking at everything through the lens of their own belief system that they already have plopped on top of everything. Right, Justin?
Austin, this is the thing that happened in the White House with Zelensky. I mean,
yes,
you had two completely different takes on that situation depending on your political beliefs. And it was incredible to watch that unfold in real time because my social media accounts, and I pride myself on this, are rather diverse in terms of political discussion. And it was an incredible thing to watch the separation, it's like a mitosis, happen in real time, where people were saying one thing and people didn't see the same thing. We're living in a culture now where people are seeing things happen. So what did somebody tell me? Oh my God, I love this quote. I just read it this morning when I was up early writing my blog. Today, used to be that the news would tell you what happened and then you decided how to feel. Now the news tells you what to feel and you have to decide what happened.
Yeah.
That's how bad it's gotten in our culture. You now have to figure out, did what we see actually happen? Because I'm feeling a certain way. And the news, it did not used to be that way. There's a great interview I love, I share it with people all the time, of Joan Crawford, who was one of the great movie stars of the 1930s and 40s and was an enormous star. And she was interviewed in the 70s, I think, when she was going around for Pepsi-Cola because she was the spokesperson. She married the CEO. And they sat her down, they talked about Reagan, I think indirectly with her, because he was running for governor of California. And she was asked, what do you think about actors in politics, or what do you think about actors saying what their political opinions are? And Joan Crawford, who was, again, we're talking about Hollywood royalty here, she said, I don't think it's our job as actors to tell the people of America how to think or what to do or how to vote. We have been given our responsibility as performers to, keep some mystique about who we are and to not reveal everything about who, what we think. And she took a very libertarian view, which is like, it's not my responsibility as an actress to tell you how to vote or what to think about politics. And then she talked about Walter Cronkite. And she said that he was sort of the standard bearer for the news because he would just report the news. There was no editorialization on the news. It was just, here is what happened. And then you could take away from the news what you thought about what happened, and then you could have a discussion. But the thing is today, the media doesn't give anyone the chance to discuss what happened because we're all too much in our feelings, right? But I feel this would happen, and this, so we can't get to a good conversation about things because we're so poisoned by the media's, bad faith execution of ginning us all up to be, hysterical.
I love it. Justin, completely agree. I want to talk to you about your article you wrote yesterday and the pushback that there has been to your article, Justin, because, from a big picture perspective, this is, in essence, de-wokeifying the arts, de-wokeifying the production of the capitalistic venture of spreading your ideas through artistic ventures. Justin, tell us a little bit about this article that you wrote. Try and explain it to us like we're five, and help us to understand what your premise is and why there was such a near violent reaction to it.
Well, the premise comes from the following idea. There's currently a war right now in the vocal training and education in general, okay? This is not just endemic to voice teaching. This is endemic to all education, which is this idea of the master-apprentice model. The idea that there is a person in the room who is the learned scholar who understands the ins and outs of a particular subject matter, has studied it at depth, and is going to teach the apprentice how to execute said job. We do this in Austin in the trades all the time. Electricians work on an apprentice model. Welders work on an apprentice model. Carpenters work on this model. I think I said electricians. I mean, welders. Anybody with the trade, basically. And name a trade. HVAC operators, right? They all operate on this idea of a trade. What's coming down from the, I'll just say it, radical left, is this idea of flattening of hierarchies. is that now the student who comes into the room is no longer the student. They are a co-equal creator of the education with the teacher. So the teacher's knowledge now is not to be a teacher or a master, it's now to be a facilitator, that they're now going to facilitate the education of the person in the room. This is very attractive in the voice teaching community because of the particular kind of work we do, obviously, with a one-on-one with teaching and not holding too much power. But the argument against the model of this kind of training comes from a Marxist viewpoint. Right, the flattening of hierarchy is a Marxist, a communist ploy, right? That no one is better than anyone else, that we're all flattened. So this is again the war on meritocracy, right? This is the war that some people in teaching are actually better than others, right? So we can't have that. We can't have master teachers because we can't have somebody in our profession who's better or knows more than somebody else. And it's a gross misrepresentation of what master-apprentice models are. What I find, and I'm going to get very spicy on your show this morning, Austin.
Let's hear it.
We did just have butter chicken last night.
This is a gynocratic push. This is a lot of mostly female voice teachers who are upset about previous training that they have received at the hands of, let's just say, very bad teachers. And they are extrapolating and universalizing out to an entire system. Have we heard this before in our political rhetoric? I'm going to make one bad situation in a systemic problem. And it's not me that did something wrong. It was the system that did me bad. So we're now coming after the system. And so this is a gynocratic push to flatten these hierarchies. And I wrote about this, and I, of course, did not say anything that I just told you. Right?
Of course, yeah.
Because they're sort of couching it now in a Mott and Bailey fallacy. And do your readers, or readers, do your listeners know what a Mott and Bailey fallacy is?
Stephanie, do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay, explain it very briefly, Justin.
So a Mott and Bailey fallacy is basically when you make an argument where usually a person will make a very bold, controversial claim, right? That's what they call the Bailey. It comes from these old Middle Ages parapets and towns and things. The town was not easy to defend, so it was called the Bailey. The Mott is the sort of the castle that's easy to, because it's surrounded by a moat or a gate. There's something that's very easy to defend the castle, right?
Okay.
So you can kind of think about it in terms of defense.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll put forward this ludicrous, well, we gotta get rid of this system entirely. We're gonna get rid of this system entirely. So that's the Bailey, right? The Mott that's standing behind it that they retreat to when you say, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to flatline the roles between teacher and student. Then they retreat to say, well, we want to do student-centered learning. So they retreat to a more defensible position, which more people can get on board with. I think most people in teaching that are good educators do want to be student-centered. We want to make sure that the students' needs and are getting centered and making sure that they're being successful in what they're wanting to do. That's no person's going to not argue with that and say, no, it should be teacher-focused. It should be all about the teacher. No one agrees to that.
Just like in therapy, it's client-centered. That's what our approach is, yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to defend that position. The Bailey, however, is the controversial claim that cannot be defended. And they will couch the Bailey in the Mott. So, for example, they'll use student-centered learning as a way to Trojan horse in these flattening of hierarchies, right? That you're no longer the expert in the room. You are not the expert. Now the student has become the expert, and the student knows everything. And now you, as the teacher, have to be, bending to what the student wants. This is why we have restorative justice in schools. This is why we have violence in schools, because the teachers have no control over the discipline of the classroom because of these types of flattenings of systems. So when the students see themselves as equal to the teacher, you get young adolescents who don't know how to self-regulate their emotions and are violent in schools, and that's why we have these particular problems in schools, because of this flattening of hierarchies. So that's basically my argument in a nutshell. And of course, the revolutionary Marxists in the profession don't want to hear that, right? So I did get people like unsubscribing from me yesterday from my article, because they were, I guess, not feeling it, right? But that's where we are.
When you say not feeling it, though, I mean, like, why the reaction to this? I mean, they want to flatten out the arts, right? So like, and I've started to see this, right, in like my later years in my when I was still, in like the arts community directly, was that the students would deign to tell the teachers, right? And quite frequently, the parents of the students would deign to tell the teachers how the lessons would go. Which I found fascinating, and I see this a little bit like with like my karate class, where like the parents will try and infringe.
We
and
were
I have
just talking about this.
Yeah, and I had to like back them off and say, this is a discipline, this is an art. I'm here to teach it. It's going to be taught my way. There's no other way. You come and you take my class, how it's going to be, and if you don't like it, this may not be the place for you. This is a place of tears. This is a place of danger. This is a place of fear, and we will face our fears and we will face our danger, and they might fear me a little bit, but at the end, they will come out like iron comes out from a forge, and that is what this is about. But that people don't want to face, they don't want to face tumult. They don't want to face danger, right? It's like, and like you say, it is a gynocracy. It's a very feminine thing to not want to be like a helicopter parent, to not want your child to have to face any danger. There's no bumps or no bruises in this world. Like, you know, Steph and I were talking about that just yesterday, right? It's like, it's a very female thing to feel that way. Whereas we men, without our instinct for danger and our risk-takingness and things like that, no shit wouldn't get built. Musicals wouldn't get written if we didn't.
Well, you said something really, you know, the heart of what you're getting to, and I think it's important to underline. Everything that the left does is always predicated, and I say left, I mean far left. I don't mean like, you know, centrist leftists, because they're probably old school liberal, you know, whatever, so they don't see this. It's really what lost in the election, by the way, and we'll talk about that maybe a little bit. But the whole system of their beliefs is all predicated upon power. It all comes from Michel Foucault's postmodernist takes about who has the power in a particular situation and who is wielding the power. To a Marxist communist, to a neo-Marxist, the idea that someone in a room has more power than someone else is absolutely untenable if that person does not hit all of the demographic markings of an oppressed class that should be in the power situation in the room. So this is what it's about. It's that they are trying to flatten the power structures in education to equalize everyone and flatten everything down. So you have to understand it's about power. This is why you'll often see them talking about power all the time. Power this, who has the power, power, power. It's all coded into their belief system. This doesn't work in a master-apprentice model because someone in the room needs to be the authority. Someone in the room needs to be able to say, I am the expert here. I am the person doing the teaching, and this is what I offer. And as you said, Austin, so brilliantly, which is what I think most teachers are missing, at least in the private sector in which I work, if you don't want the kind of education that I have to offer, get the fuck out, right? Get the fuck out. Go find another teacher.
That's probably what Socrates said.
Yeah, that's right. Go find someone else. Like, you are not beholden to take lessons with a teacher as a student because you are the consumer. Let's talk about free markets. As a student in a private sector situation, you are absolutely entitled to find the teacher that's right for you. You don't have to go and study with some bullcrap teacher that you don't want to study with, or maybe a teacher teaches methods that you don't like, or, you know, doesn't work the way you want to work. You have the freedom in a free market system to say, no, we're not going to do that, you know. One of the things that I posited in my article, which I think I was proud of because it made me think of you, Augie, and I got verklempt, was when you flatten these hierarchies, Austin, you still need hierarchies to enforce them, right? So when you flatten these things, then you have to make sure that everyone's flattened all the time, that nobody can rise above to be the teacher. So what ends up happening is you create more rigid hierarchies then in these education systems. Does anybody want to say bureaucrats? The whole problem with this is that the master-apprentice model has now led to an entire cadre of political bureaucrats that want to push the rest of the country and how we should be teaching all of these children, not only in the private sector, but in the public sector as well. And I wrote this. I'm gonna read this to you because I love it and I'm proud of it. I said, this is the hallmark of totalitarianism, the belief that all existing hierarchies must be destroyed only to be replaced by artificial, centralized authority that enforces ideological and pedagogical purity. True tyranny isn't found in the master teaching the apprentice, it's in the bureaucrat, the committee, or the ideological watchdog deciding on who's allowed to teach what. The push to flatten expertise doesn't lead to freedom. It leads to a more insidious, invisible form of control. If we truly care about education, real education, not just the optics of inclusion, Liberal-minded teachers must vigorously reject this misguided assault on hierarchy. Expertise matters, mastery matters, and the best way to preserve both is through a model that has stood the test of time. A world where those who know teach those who seek to learn.
Dang.
Good stuff, Justin. Where is that from?
That's from my blog. Or
That's,
from my
you
Substack.
wrote that. Jesus
I wrote that.
Christ, that's my brother, Justin Peterson. Give it up.
Wow. Yay for public school, right? Like, that's where you guys learned all this.
No, it was Lawrence, Kansas. He went to KU. That's why. That's
Well, you know,
where it
the
was.
thing, somebody asked me yesterday, they said, people flatter me. People flatter me. I don't think I'm smart. I really don't think I'm smart. Because I recognize all my foibles and my follies and my fallacies. But somebody said to me, how did you get so smart? Or how did you get to know what you know? And I said, honestly,
It
I
wasn't
wasn't a
school.
reader. It was reading.
Yeah.
It was reading. I became a voracious reader.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. I read everything and I listened to what people had to say and I loved debate. You know, like during the early 2000s, I loved to watch like Richard Dawkins and like Christopher Hitchens sit and talk to each other. And that made my brain just explode with like, wow, this is thinking at a level I just haven't, encountered.
Yeah.
But to be curious, that was it too. You know, be curious about the world. The other thing too is that we did, Austin, at least I can speak for myself. I don't speak for you. But I had a liberal education. And what does that mean? We were trained in the Western tradition. We were trained in the literature of the West, the art of the West. We did a broad survey of history. We learned all of these things. Honestly, the liberal education that I got was what armed me to be able to have the opinions that I do today. Because my opinions are based in a breadth of history, a breadth of literature, a breadth of art and music. These are all the things that I was educated in. And I was not trained to hate the Western canon. I was not trained to hate the Western literature. I was not turning my gender studies vitriol on the accumulated knowledge of the past. And unfortunately, the social studies departments of these colleges have not stayed in their lane, and they have infected everything. They've gone into the music departments, and the music departments are very friendly to these things. Arts departments are very friendly to these things because they're already high on empathy anyway, right? Artists tend to be rather high on empathetic values, much to their detriment because it can sometimes be suicidal, right? You and I have talked about suicidal empathy. Gad Saad is actually writing a book about that currently right now, about the idea that the West is not going to be destroyed. It'll just commit suicide through its empathy. And so I'm very fortunate that I had a broad liberal arts education that was those are the best weapons I have as a person, is my education, to know history, to know the arts, and not from a biased perspective, or at least to be able to see bias, to say, oh, this person is completely biased in what they're saying. There's no hope for people if they don't have that kind of education. And honestly, I think that's the point of bad education in our country. You have a citizenry that is stupid. And when you have an education system that keeps your citizenry stupid, they can't rise up and acknowledge the tyranny that they're living under. Ooh, hot takes from JP.
Good stuff. I mean, and
wow.
And our friend Entropy Nomad donated $10. Says, this is for Justin blowing my lunch money on expensive words. There we go. A lot of expensive words.
Wow. Yeah, you both are very smart, and you both have been big readers in your childhood, and I really hope that Hazel can learn to appreciate reading as much as you have.
Knowledge is powerful, but it can also be very alienating. It can be very alienating, right?
Alienating.
It is extremely alienating because the more you know, the less you can relate to people who don't seek to escape from Plato's cave, right? The more around it's like taking the red pill, right? What happens is that you start to wake up, you come out of the matrix, you start to see the world around you for what it is, you start to recognize patterns. Like the whole concept of history and being doomed to repeat it, it's because they don't know the history. We repeat it because people don't understand that the policies that we're enacting mirror the policies that led us to the destruction of 50, 75, 100 years ago.
When you destroy history, Austin, you destroy the future. Because when people don't know what has happened in the past, they have no idea how to be armed in the present. When you have this is why the knowledge about Rome and Greece and the French Revolution and the wars of the 17th and 18th centuries and all of these, the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s in China, like understanding all of these things gives you a breadth and a scope of understanding the world that you live in. You cannot understand the world you live in if you don't understand history. You cannot understand it. You are literally floating in water and you have no idea that you're in water. You must understand history. And it behooves all of us to value that as a culture, and that's why we venerate people like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. We love those people because they are an integral part of the myth making of who we are as a people, who we are as a citizenry. So when you tear those men down and you tear those statues down and you desecrate what they have to say, you create a culture in which, as I was saying with cathedrals, you build your culture on piss and rubble, and there's nothing left. And you will give nothing to your ancestors of any value. Wow, I'm on fire today, bro.
Damn, Justin,
I'm on fire today.
It's amazing. We're loving it.
Wow,
Really
you should
loving
wake up
it.
at 3 a.m. every day.
Yeah.
I know, right? Please no. I have like hours of teaching to do today.
We're
I'm
getting
so tired already.
We're getting a lot of interesting feedback to the conversation that we're having here on the Wake Up America show. Hey guys, with the 166 people who are joining us live over on Rumble, can we get some more likes on the video feed, if you wouldn't mind? Click the like button. Support the Wake Up America show. It's totally free. And if today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, you might be wondering who these people are. Why are we here? What are we all about? Well, I'm Austin Peterson. I'm the host of the show. This is my smoking hot, redheaded libertarian wife, Stephanie. Here she is. Lovely girl. That's my brother, Justin Peterson. You can see him there on the right side of your screen, my older brother, Justin. And he joins us here on Freedom Family Fridays. We call this Freedom Family Fridays. I invite my family onto the show to share them with you. They are wonderful people. And of course, many of them are inspirations to me, especially my brother, Justin, who was a huge inspiration to me. It was because of him that I started reading early before I got to school. So I did have a big advantage. And I was a voracious reader. Always have been. I don't read paper books as much as I used to. I still try to as much as I can. But nowadays, I do most of my reading digitally, and my eyes are starting to go these days, which makes it even harder.
Are you too?
Oh yeah, I have to increase. So I increase the size of the font on my iPad or whatever, so I can read things. But I
also.
Yeah.
I've done my readers now.
Well, you know what's funny, Justin? They developed this new contact lenses. Maybe I need to send them over to you. But they have like a bifocal contact lens. And it's now that, because it used to be at night, my eyes would start to go blurry in my contacts and I wasn't able to see. So they have these new contact lenses that gives you a bifocal effect that you can use. You just kind of look down and it gives you the bifocal. It's pretty cool. But
that must be nice for you, because our sweet sainted mother, I got an astigmatism. So I can only wear particular kinds of contact lenses. I can only wear certain kinds.
So do I.
Maybe if it works out, because I struggled, because I went to the eye doctor and I said, hey, can you give me an uppage on my prescription or whatever? And they said, sir, you have reached the limit.
Did your mom wear glasses?
What are you saying?
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Well, yeah, Donna Jo. Donna Jo wore glasses.
Okay, I was wondering, because your dad doesn't really wear glasses other than just for magnifying.
Drew Van Runkle, he donated $2, says, if I was gay, I'd definitely try to get with Justin.
Oh, boy. You both turned
somebody
straight men
better,
gay.
because the TikTok time is running out, kids. You want to talk about isolation? You want to talk about isolation, Austin?
Go, Justin, go. Go, Justin, go. Are you lonely, Mr. Lonely? Lonely.
No, but can I tell you what? I'm going to say something you shouldn't say. I like myself. I mean, and also, I like my solitude. I do like my solitude.
Are you sure? Are you just telling yourself that? Because I used to do that too.
Because I've decided.
I was just telling Austin the other day, I used to kind of like lie to myself and others that like I was happy.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Well, no, because I have been to the rodeo several times. I got some popcorn, had some hot dogs, and
Justin,
they just leave
I feel bad because like relationships in the gay world, especially for gay men, it's just a non-starter. The lesbians are violent as hell, and the gay men can't stick together. Yeah. It's like it's just a recipe for disaster in terms of like long-term love and affection. Now, I know, Justin, you said you're not conservative, but relative to the other, gay men out there,
oh my God, I'm like,
you're an extreme conservative.
I'm literally like Hitler. I'm literally
That's funny.
No.
No, because it's like, and I'm not. Can I say Twitter words on here?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not really interested in NPCs. You know what I mean? What Austin, like I was just saying, when you've done as much reading, and you've done as much study, and you've done as much philosophizing and thinking, you don't want to spend your life with some empty-headed, houseboy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want that in your life. You don't want someone in your life who can't share the deep conversations like we're having. Like, these are, believe it or not, these are intimate conversations, right?
Yeah.
You're having conversations with people where you're being accepted, you're not being rejected, right? Someone's not arguing with you, fighting with you. This is what I like Fridays on your show, because we're not fighting with each other. We're just talking, which is many of those shows where everyone's just fighting all the time. So
Justin, people are asking. Justin, pause real quick. Sorry, I hate to interrupt, but people want your Substack. So, what's your Substack called?
It's justinpeterson.substack.com. Now, most of the time, it's going to be voice stuff. So,
a defense of the master apprentice model.
Correct. I rarely go into politics. I probably won't. It's not something I like doing. But the more I get pushed on, the more I will push back. Because as I told you yesterday, Austin, men defend.
That's right, Justin. That's right. Hail Justin, says Joni Rankin.
But that is so important, though, to be your own best friend and to really learn to enjoy spending time with yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be by yourself, no matter what.
Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And can I tell you, like, there's this funny. I love this guy. He's a philosopher. His name's Alain de Botton, and I like his stuff. He does the School of Life over in London, and I talk about him all the time. But he was on a podcast and he was talking about dating, and he was saying, when you're going into a dating situation, when you sit down with someone, you lightly, he recommends that people kind of just lightly, in a very gentle tone, say, well, this is kind of how I'm crazy, and this is, what makes me a little bit nutty. Like, how are you crazy? And it can be a real good metric for the other person at the table, because if the other person at the table is like, I'm not crazy, I have no idea what you're talking about, I don't know what you mean at all. Well, that person is an absolutely non-starter, right? Because that person hasn't really looked at themselves in order to know like what makes them unique and what where they're kind of a little bit nutty, like what makes them a little idiosyncratic. And if you're not in touch with that as a person, an intelligent person, an emotionally intelligent person, should run away, because this person has no relationship with the inside of their stuff, or their dark side. Because that's what you're going to also get in the relationship with someone. You're not just getting like the sunny, oh, let's go on dates and have fun. You're also getting the, damn, why don't this bitch get out of bed at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? What the fuck is wrong with her? That's part of the relationship too.
What makes
it
them,
is,
what makes
and
them
it leads
unique?
to conflict.
Yeah, we talk about your dark side, right?
Yeah.
That you learn about as you get to know someone.
I've actually been sort of teaching this a little bit to the kids in karate class, talking about what makes them a good person, right? And I borrowed this from Jordan Peterson, but I talk about, a good person is a monster who has a monster inside of them, but who keeps it under control, right? And because I'm talking about teaching them all these violent techniques, but of course I don't want them to use them. I only want them to use them if they have to in self-defense. It should be used for good. It should be used for justice, right? But you're not a good person if you can't use these violent techniques. If you're weak and you can't hurt anybody, you're not a good person, you're just weak. So this is a concept that I try and teach to people, is that you have to have power. Justin, talking about your masculinity, right, and what it means to be a man. I mean, you were talking about how you felt like you were a man, like I don't know if you were saying it was like for the first time in your life, but maybe uniquely in this scenario when you're pushing back against the gynocracy, against the woke takeover of the arts and the left, that you feel like a protector, and that is what makes you feel like a man. Can you expand on that?
No, I have nothing to add to what you just said. This idea of the empowerment of defense of one's country, or defense of one's values, or the defense of one's culture, or the defense of one's loves and one's passions in life, is a noble, virtuous thing. It's a noble, virtuous thing to do those things. And there is a lot of Well, you know that I live in a world that's dominated by women. I mean, it's a world completely owned and operated by women. And I love women. This is the thing. But I don't love some of the ideas that are coming out of that. And it is important for men to stand up occasionally and say, no, we're not doing this, right? And I see this also in straight heterosexual relationships with men and women, where sometimes it reaches a point where the man finally does have to say, no, we're not doing this. You know, there needs to be an equal balance between what Nietzsche calls the Apollonian and the Dionysian, right? The idea of
the masculine versus the feminine.
Female energy. That's right. And there needs to be a yin and a yang. I agree with the idea, okay, that too much masculinity goes south, right? It becomes toxic. It becomes, we're not fully integrated human beings. We can't feel our feelings. We're locked down. I'm never going to tell my son that I love him. I mean, that kind of stuff is not good for human beings. But on the other side, you don't want the unhinged Dionysian chaos of emotional hysteria all the time. That's the toxic femininity, right? We talk a lot about toxic masculinity, but we never talk about toxic femininity, which is just as pervasive.
The devouring mother, for example, is a perfect example of that. Justin, our conversation this morning is sparking a lot of discussion over on X.
Wow,
a lot of people are weighing in on this topic.
People love you so much. They really do.
I asked the question at about 50 minutes ago. I posted over on X what we were talking about. I said, were conservatives pushed out of the arts, or did they abandon them? And John Carney, who is a fairly prolific writer, said that they were pushed out. He says, imagine trying to be an English lit professor, for example, while holding right-wing views and supporting Trump. Is there even one open Trump supporter in an Ivy League lit department right now? It's an excellent question. Justin, do you think we should...
They did that to... I don't know this for a fact, so I'm going to state something based on very limited data, which is not a responsible thing to do for someone who has my value system. Okay, but let me just say, Laura Osnes was a very well-known musical theater performer. I don't know what her political views are. I would say she probably skews more Trump, okay? I don't know who she voted for, okay? But the industry believes that they know who she voted for, right? So she's sort of been tarred and feathered out of the musical theater world, along with another woman by the name of Monolokos. Her is her last name. She's Greek. I can't remember her first name. Oh, it'll come to Monolokos, whatever. But they were drummed out of musical theater. Two incredibly talented, kind, generous colleagues who were drummed out of the musical theater, drummed out of Broadway, because they didn't have the right political views. So it's not even a situation where you can have a view and coexist in an environment with other people. You can't. And why? Because for the left, there is no middle ground. There is no nuance. You are either all in with the project or you are aligned with Hitler. Right? There's no gray. So they'll say things, they'll put on these TikTok videos and they'll say, of course you can be in musical theater and be conservative, but if your political views are that you are a transphobe and a racist and you don't like gay people, then you should not be in musical theater. And I'm like, so basically, you can be conservative as long as you have our views, which is not what conservative is.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I went to a meeting of the film community in Springfield, Missouri recently. And Stephanie, you weren't there with me, but you probably would have observed this as well. You know, the arts community, of course, being so liberal, being so... It was interesting. I really did feel like the odd man out. I showed up in a tie. I showed up wearing like my
you looked really good.
My cardigan, right? I was serious because I was there to hire people. I was there to like be a producer and to bring people into the arts. But I mean, you could sense the sort of othering that was going on because of the fact that I was there and I had a conservative aura to me. and you could feel people asking me sort of like snide questions and sort of like, first, you know, they don't believe that you're there to like spend money, because most people who go to things like that are like actors or, you know, like second best grip or microphone holder, you know what I mean? And so it's like, so like to have a person who's actually a producer who's there, who's got money, right? But then if you have the money and you are the producer and you want to make non-woke art like this documentary that I'm working on, then you know you are the person who sets the tune for the art that will be created. So I think that the underlying problem is, and we've identified this before, and this is, you know, you need to hop into the X comments, Justin, because it's blowing up with people on this opinion that I posted an hour ago. You need to go in there and read all these replies and respond to some of them, Justin. But
Don't tell me what to do.
Conservatives, well, I say you need to, right? It's in your best interest. And I'm posting your Substack over there as well for people to share and for people to read. But conservatives have to fund the arts that they want to see. Conservatives have to produce the arts that they want to see. You know, this story of the Battle of Athens that I'm producing is a story about American history that has very important Second Amendment implications to our rights and to our liberties, and it is an unsung story. It's not a story that you want a leftist to tell, right? It's kind of like when the left did Starship Troopers and made it into this strange fascist discussion rather than one about responsibility and moral responsibility and national and responsible nationalism, right? Hollywood, the guy who Paul Verhoeven, who made the movie Starship Troopers, I think didn't even finish the book. He's like, oh, this is about fascism, and then he threw the book away and then made this movie, which I love the movie Starship Troopers, but he clearly didn't understand the context that Robert Heinlein, who is a libertarian science fiction author, was trying to the context of what he was trying to communicate to people, which is the concept that there is no liberty without responsibility. And so these are alien concepts to people in the United States, in part because, one, they need to have aliens in the story for it to be interesting to them. And then two, the people who tell the story about aliens are going to make the libertarians out to be fascists and Nazis, rather than, you know, like Neil Patrick Harris, right? And all the characters in the movie Starship Troopers. I don't know if you remember it, Stephanie, if you've seen it. But
I think you showed it to me,
But
right?
they're all fascists and they're Nazis because the director, Paul Verhoeven, is a leftist shit who thinks that any form of responsibility, that the left thinks that they can have liberty without responsibility, right? They are libertines, right? They think that they can engage in, that they can get the benefits and the gifts of liberty without the accordant responsibility. Right, and the right believes in responsibilities with no liberties. Right, all of life is duty, all of life is responsibility, and there is no art and plays and musicals and happiness and singing and joy and love and comedy. You know there is no there. It's all just a dull gray march towards death, because the only happiness that exists is on the other side of this world, right? And you, Justin, you and I, we are a rejection. We libertarians, we classical liberals, we reject both paradigms. We believe in liberty and we believe in responsibility. These two things must come together. Justin, you're beautiful. Your brain is just, it's humongous. We need to like.
That's what they all say.
Justin, one of these days you will have a podcast.
Well, I'm working on it.
But I want your podcast to be on my network. I know you need to do.
Take my top off again.
Exactly. Yes. Why don't you show us your chesticles?
I think you've wowed us all today, Justin.
Yeah, Justin, you really
Great
impressed
job.
everybody.
Phenomenal.
Is there anything you think we missed, or anything you want to share or plug?
Well, I'll share that my new article is coming out here, and it's probably already going to come out in about 2-3 minutes here at 10 o'clock here, my Eastern time. I'm writing about cathedrals here. This is the article I wrote today about cathedrals and about how cathedrals require a culture that cares about the past and wants to build on the past, not destroy it. And I kind of relate that to singing, teaching, and how that also relates. So it's going to be a good article. I also throw shade at the communists. I throw shade at the French Revolution. I throw shade at the Bolsheviks in Russia. So I give everybody an equal lapping.
Love it, Justin. Where can people find your Substack?
JustinPeterson.substack.com.
And how do we spell Peterson, Justin?
with all E's. We're Danish, not Swedish. Petersen.
Petersen. Justin Peterson over on Substack. Give him a follow. We appreciate you very much, Justin. Love you.
Love you. Great job.
Thanks, y'all.
Let's do it again next week, okay, JP? Save some time for us.
If you say so.
All right, brother.
So.
Love you. We'll see you. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Great stuff with JP, Steffi.
Wow.
What'd you say, huh?
He blows me away with everything that's going on up in here. You both. I mean, your brains are you're different than most.
Yeah, we're a little different.
I did not read very much for pleasure as a child. I only read for school because school made me read books that I didn't want to actually read. So I really hope that Hazel has a different path than I did.
Steelbringer gifted a sub to our buddies over there. First Class Scout got it. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Please do support the Wake Up America show, not just with your Rumble rants, but visit the Grift Shop. As you exit through the Grift Shop. Get yourself some delicious boxes of Founding Flavors coffee today. What do you say?
That's right. We have no shame. We are proud to be business owners.
We are proud
because that is how we can get to the American dream.
That's right. Show your support for liberty and responsibility. Be responsible and join us in our capitalistic venture. Go to forlibertyshop.com. The Gulf of America merchandise is lit. People love it. I drink out of this thing every day. My Gulf of America 20-ounce tumbler. But you know what the top product is everybody loves?
The Gulf of America beach towels.
Gulf of America beach towels. That's what everybody wants.
I want to be at a Gulf of America beach soon so I can see all of our beach towels lined up there on the sandy beach.
That would be so amazing. Go to forlibertyshop.com. Support us. Bless us with something.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh. Money wars.
And visit forlibertyshop.com, guys, and we'll see you on Monday on the Wake Up America show. Don't forget, Tuesday, the Freedom Arcade. Steffi?
Be free.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.